Hi, hi, hi. I'm back again. It's me, WayOutDan, the wayest and outest of all Dans, especially the WayOutDans. And I thought I would answer a question that's been out there. What is an NPC? There seems to be a lot of confusion about this. There's at least three different definitions. And so people aren't speaking the same language when they talk about it and they get confused. They each think the other one's crazy. Maybe the other one's an NPC. Maybe they are. So I thought I'd go over it. So I before I say where I first heard the term, let's give a little bit of context, a little background here. I have long been aware that some people don't respond as if they understood what I said. But instead of, asking me a question or saying, huh, or like, I didn't hear you or something, they just respond totally inappropriately. Sometimes, it's not so simple as missing the word not. Like if I say, well, I am not a believer in XYZ, and then they turn around to like, what? You believe in XYZ? I say, no, no, I said not. It's a lot of times it goes deeper than that. It's like they haven't been following what we've been talking about for like 5 minutes or longer. We might be having a conversation. All of a sudden, they have no idea what I'm talking about. They lose the context. Basically, people act like robots sometimes. It's like they have pre programmed responses when certain terms are used, and they don't actually listen and understand. Gay marriage is a good example. I've see people who believe in gay marriage. They're used to people on the other side who say things like, "Well, it's against God's law, therefore I'm against it, and therefore we should have the state make it illegal because, of course, it's my business to enforce God's law." Like they're used to people like that. I don't say that. I don't think it's my business. I think that's if you know God has a problem with you, you can talk to God yourself. I'm not stopping you. That I don't need to worry about that. My trouble is much more nuanced. I'm not against gay marriage exactly. I mean, you can do whatever you want in private. It all has to do with how is it implemented and some of the details about how we're using the terms and everything. There has to be some agreement, some consistency in the law, and usually the way it's pushed through, it causes issues, and it's done illegally, where it doesn't even have like legal binding power. They do it in unconstitutional ways and stuff. And so my objections are usually on that level. But when I try to explain that to people, they start attacking me in ways much, much, much bigger than the they get. Well, let's or here's an example. Someone who says like, "Well, I think that you're sinning," they know how to deal with that. They're like, "Well, I disagree with you, and that's none of your business." They know how to deal with that. But if I say, "Well, look, I mean, I don't care what you do. I mean, do whatever you want," but the way I use the term, like marriage is by definition heterosexual. So there's no such thing as a homosexual marriage. That's something else. Oh my goodness, they flip out. They get so angry over definitions. Very strange. Anyways, maybe that's not the best example. But people act like robots, and so if you've ever had a chat bot, and I'm talking like the early ones back in like 2001, if you talk to an AI online, they were pretty bad. They could not follow the meaning of a sentence. They pick out a word here and there and then talk about that subject, but they wouldn't actually be responding to what you said in a meaningful way. And I notice people do this a lot. And so I've been calling them robots. I'd say they use algorithmic thinking. And then later I started to hear people using the term NPC, which is an acronym for non-player character. And now that you know that, you should immediately think what they're talking about. They're talking about video games. Video games, there's the character who's controlled by the player and other players, but then there are other characters generated by the computer and just following programming. And if you've ever interacted with them, like if it's a game where there's conversation, you know they're following a script and it doesn't always fit. So they are NPCs. Well, there are real world people who act just like NPCs. And I think a lot of people, at least, are part-time NPCs. I've seen this a lot. And so this is something I've noticed I talk about, and I've used the term for over a decade now. I've been so I know what I'm talking about, and other people all use it the same way. And it's obvious. NPC stands for non-player character. That should already tell you what it means. It's these video game characters that are generated by the computer. They're not actually thinking. They're not actually self-aware. There is no character. There's no mind inside. It's just, the computer's just making them do stuff. So, in very recent times, like this year, I guess, 2024, or by the time you see this video, it'll probably be 2025, but it was sometime in the last year that I came across someone else who made a video explaining what NPCs were. What is an NPC? And they got it totally, 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 totally wrong. And they were talking about how if you feel like you can't get ahead in life, like you're stuck in your socioeconomic class, no matter how hard you work, you're just not getting ahead because of larger scale economic forces. And if you also feel trapped by social conventions, culture, and you also feel trapped by the political system, like there's only two parties to vote for and they're both terrible, you know, you feel like you're just going through the motions, following a programming that's been laid out for you ahead of time before you were born. And so you feel like an NPC, a non-player character. Well, that is very wrong because NPCs can't feel anything. Um, so no one ever says they are an NPC or they feel like an NPC. They only say those other people are acting like an NPC. That's how it's always been used. And now all of a sudden, this one person is trying to explain what it means for others and explained it very badly backwards. And so that was annoying. Anyways, I read through the comments on that video, and none of them pointed out what I'm pointing out, which is the real way it's supposed to be used, which I'm very used to and I've heard many places. So I know what I'm talking about. It has an established meaning. It's not just me and like two other guys in my town. We're talking to like it's widespread. They were confused too, but they're like, "Oh, I thought an NPC was a person who didn't have an internal monologue." And then someone else said, I thought an NPC was someone who didn't have a mind's eye. They couldn't visualize things. They stored memories as words rather than pictures. And which, by the way, both of those two phenomena I only encountered very recently on, I think it was on YouTube actually, that I discovered that there are people who don't have an internal monologue, and there are people who don't have a mind's eye, and there are people who have neither. And that was surprising. I don't know how that's possible, but that doesn't make them an NPC. They still might have a mind that can still understand and be self-aware. We all have different senses and we process things in different ways. So that's okay. That's fine. I still accept them, of course. Not gonna not gonna start the genocides yet just because people are a little different than me. I mean, I'm not like that today. Um, so anyways, these so there's a lot of different so there's a lot of confusion about what an NPC is. Is it someone without a mind's eye, someone without a internal monologue, someone who just feels like they're trapped in society, in the cultural system? Or is it someone who's actually not aware? Maybe they're only part-time NPC. Maybe they're very tired. And so they haven't had their coffee yet. And so they're just not really thinking. Whatever it is that causes that. Or maybe they really are a robot, just dropped here by aliens to observe us. I mean, it could be the way they behave. So there's like four different definitions there. And it's causing confusion when people call themselves NPCs, when they call other people NPCs. It's causing confusion. So I thought I would just clear this up if you weren't aware that there was all these different meanings of the same word, all these different meanings of the same word out there on the internet. I thought I would just be educational and cover some stuff. So anyways, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video or any of my other videos, I have all kinds of links in the description of things all over the internet that I do. And don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you for watching.